Mr. Krabbs, though. Too greedy. I think he, if anyone.
Harder for a Mr. Krabbs to get into heaven than Camel.
Hello and welcome back to the Croak and Crow podcast. I am Spencer Thomas Cartier.
I am Pearl Krabbs.
Pearl Krabbs. And this here is Frank, rocking the white tee. It's pretty nice outside, so I'm with it. And it is Wednesday, guys. It is our first podcast of this week.
Yes.
We start on Wednesday. We like starting on Wednesday. Anyone that wants us to start Monday, we don't care.
Last Wednesday of April.
It's the last Wednesday of April. What day is it? April 20-something.
It's the 27th.
April 27th, last Wednesday, last podcast on a Wednesday in April of 2021.
Right.
So hopefully we enjoy it. We enjoy these last few days of April.
Why wouldn't we?
You know. You never know. You never know what's going to happen.
You were telling me about Frank's shirt before we started.
Yeah. Frank's shirt. I let him borrow it. It is a David T. Howard high school shirt. It has the high school emblem. It says the dates that the high school was in what?
Was open.
Yeah, was open. But they're actually, I think they revamped it in 2019. And I think this is part of what the shirt is talking about.
Okay.
So for those of you who don't know, Dwight T. Howard was a...
David.
What did I say?
Dwight
Howard. I'm thinking of the player. Was a freed slave.
Oh. And
down in Tuskegee, don't quote me on all this, but this is what I think. Down in Tuskegee, Atlanta. Is that where Tuskegee?
I don't know.
Tuskegee, Georgia.
Okay.
Outside of Atlanta. Right? And Tuskegee, you might remember that because that's one of my favorite historical lessons
the
was
Airmen.
the Tuskegee Airmen.
Mm-hmm.
All in Tuskegee, Georgia. One of these states.
An African-American order, right?
Yeah.
Pilots.
Of pilots.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole town was hustling and bustling, it seems like, because in Tuskegee, David T. Howard, a freed slave, created a high school.
Oh, wow.
I believe at the time it was all blacks. And you might recognize a name who went to this high school.
Alumni.
It was Martin Luther King.
I recognize that name.
So yeah, I believe that they revamped the school because obviously it's how much more historical significance can you get? And David T. Howard, I know all I gave him credit for was being a freed slave, but he did a ton with his life. Like opening this high school was just one of the many things that he did.
Philanthropy.
It was a Puma shirt, so I think that's what I think. I think the whole sponsor thing was it's being revamped, and Puma started pumping out these shirts. I didn't know that, but I love it. Cool little story. Look it up because I'm sure the story is much cooler than even I gave it credit for.
Well, little shout out. Good job, Frank.
Yeah, good job, Frank.
On a Wednesday.
Yeah. Anything else new?
No.
Well, we had the Christian...
No news is good news.
We had the Christian meme review on Sunday.
Yes.
A short little one. I think it was only 8 minutes. I like the short ones.
Yeah. You
can just watch it. You know why I like the Christian meme reviews? And you guys might watch them and agree with me, but with memes or funny things in general, it's hard to go out looking for funny things because you don't like. Do you want to
just? It just strikes you funny.
Yeah. Do you just want to be scrolling through memes all day?
No,
you don't. And so with these meme reviews, Christian memes, which are already a niche, you get to watch a 7-minute video and then get just the hand-picked memes of the bunch that make it.
So, what maybe some people don't know. So it is your live on-air reaction to reading a meme for the first time and reacting to it. But it is edited in the way that you look through them all, and then because it's tedious and because a lot of them are clunkers, you cut out the ones that for very many different reasons didn't make it. So it is edited in a way, like you said, so it's easier for you to watch. You picked out all the gems, good and bad, just like what's this, American Idol, you know, when the bad auditions and
some of the bad ones make
the good auditions. But yeah, so it is, you don't refilm it or like it's your initial reaction to it, but it is edited.
Yeah. So, you know, instead of going out to the creek and sifting through dirt looking for gold nuggets, I've compiled some gold nuggets every week. Check them out. You might just get a laugh.
Yeah. So April 27th is the feast day of Italian Saint Zita, Zita.
Ziti, baked Ziti.
I know, that's what I thought. Which I do like. Zita or Sitha is pronounced different ways, different things, but she is the patron saint of like housekeepers.
Oh, housekeepers.
Yeah. And are we ready for One Word Wednesday yet?
It's One Word Wednesday. Woo, 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 woo. Welcome back to One Word Wednesday. We do this every week where we bring up one word and we talk about it. We say, hey, is there any spiritual significance to that? Yeah. Hey, is there any real world application to that? And we just sort of chat.
Yeah, because I've called us simple before and you thought it was an insult.
And I still do.
You thought it was an insult.
Still do.
I'm so tempted to say it one more time. But it's not an insult. Like, so much is so complex, especially in spirituality. And it's overwhelming, and it's like, talk about tedious. So when I say we're simple, what I mean is like you just talked about the memes, right?
Yeah.
It's like that. Like, just imagine one word. I would go to a church service. They're like, we're going to talk about one word today. Don't worry. You know? Yeah. I just find it relaxing.
Okay. Well, there's, you know
Pressure's
what?
low.
You know what we're going to do today after this podcast? We're going to go to thesaurus.com. Shout out thesaurus.com. We're going to type in simple, and we're going to see what we get. Maybe we can find a word that we can both agree on.
Oh, thesaurus. You want to find the synonyms.
Yeah, I want to find some synonyms.
Okay. Well, anyway, in honor of Saint Zita on the 27th of April, our one word for Wednesday is sponge. Sponge.
So, the word is sponge. Can you use it in a sentence?
The sponge is on the counter.
Country of origin?
Spongeopia.
Sponge. SPONGE. Sponge.
Yes. Do you know any famous people with the name Sponge?
SpongeBob. SquarePants.
SpongeBob SquarePants. One of my first papers. This is like, you win.
Oh, yeah. What's that game? We should play like a religious version of that.
What is it?
Not Jeopardy. What's the one where we asked 100 people? I like that one better.
Oh, Family Feud.
Family Feud. Mm-hmm. I like that one better because it's it's not opinion based, but like where Jeopardy, it's like, I know I'm not smart enough for Jeopardy.
I know.
Family Feud is like we asked 100 people, so you're not even thinking what's a fact. It's like you're thinking what did 50 people say to this question?
Right. And you would have to probably say that Family Feud is like a more simple type game show than Jeopardy.
I'd say it's different. It's unique.
Okay, so you said SpongeBob, and did you know that when they were first going to make it, he was supposed to be Sponge Boy?
Sponge Boy.
And the show was going to be Sponge Boy Ahoy.
Oh, no, was it?
Yeah.
Sponge Boy Ahoy. I say that now, but would we be in a different world being like, do you know originally it was going to be called SpongeBob
SquarePants? You'd be like, why?
Sponge Boy Ahoy was going to be called SpongeBob SquarePants?
Because Ahoy is a maritime term, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like Chips Ahoy. Crunchy or chewy?
Chewy. I'm a chewy cookie kind of guy.
Crunchy.
No, you know why? You're wrong.
Oh.
No, you're wrong to like crunchy cookies.
A cookie is crunchy, so that's for starters.
It's not.
Well, okay.
What is a true cookie? It's not bought in a bag. It's baked. When is the best time to eat a baked cookie?
A few days after you baked it.
No. it's fresh out of the oven, soft. Now, if you're buying these pre-processed cookies, you want something to replicate the soft, chewy of a
maybe
soft baked
listen
cookie.
I just had an idea.
Okay.
All right, maybe it has to do with age, because
my brother is young.
No,
what are you saying?
I'm saying
old people like
I'm saying no. Okay. This is what I'm saying. When I grew up,
I want to be famous.
If you're talking about purchased cookies, prepackaged cookies were hard. I grew up with hard cookies.
That's because they didn't know how to make soft.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You grew up with pre-made soft cookies, so you I think maybe because I was never given the choice, that was my definition of a cookie. Because I told you what happened, right? When they first tried to make prepackaged soft cookies, they
were using laxatives, correct?
Yeah, I believe it's called Almost Home, and we were like over the moon about. These are soft, and we bought them in a package, and it gave everybody laxative properties. All right, that's terrible. Okay, so anyway,
we should just be a food channel. I feel like all we do is debate food.
Do we?
On this?
All right, so SpongeBob, did you know that it was created by a marine science educator?
No,
yeah,
I didn't know that, but I did know that he replicated SpongeBob and Patrick as his two kids.
I don't know. I didn't get that far, but that does sound familiar. Yeah, he was just a regular guy, and he had made he was working on a book called The Intertidal Zone, and he used a lot of his knowledge about the sea and sponge and starfish and everything was really. Came from a more scientific background, and he was trying to appeal to children.
Oh, so you personify boring things like a sea sponge, and it's like, well, this is a sea sponge. His name is Bob.
And then it got it turned into a really, really, really fun, very cheerful. I think it's a really cheerful show, and
yeah, you're never depressed watching SpongeBob SquarePants.
SpongeBob SquarePants. And did you notice I was Pearl Krabbs? Did you pick it up when I first said
it? Oh, no, I should have. That's a knock on me, but
Pearl Krabbs. Think they say her name, like they never say Krabbs. It's like Pearl.
No, yeah.
So you weren't thinking, but yeah, I'm Pearl Krabbs. And the media franchise has generated more than $13 billion.
I believe it. Name a more popular
SpongeBob.
I want to say show, but I feel like then someone will be like, Law and Order was on longer and actually grossed more views.
Right.
So I'm going to say cartoon or kid show, but let's be real. Name a more popular show.
It's great. I love it.
Because everyone knows it. So
everyone knows
even if another show grossed more views, name a show that across all age groups, old people to the youngest of kids, someone does not recognize the name SpongeBob SquarePants.
Right. SpongeBob, you think he's a spiritual little guy?
Now that's a good question. Now I imagine Sandy Cheeks is. She's down from Texas, Southern Baptist or something. I bet she goes to a church that does like clapping.
Church in a tree.
Yeah. Squidward.
Squidward needs religion.
Yeah, I was gonna say Squidward might be a little bit of an atheist.
Oh,
but
Squidward.
But no, I don't know. You know what? I think that's too easy. It's too easy to say Squidward would be an atheist. Because coming from a Christian perspective, you can say, oh, he's grumpy. He's always mad. Yeah. He must be an atheist. No, you know what? I'm going to say he's a Christian.
Okay.
And I'm going to say the one thing that gets him go... Or no, I'm not even going to say he's a Christian. I'm going to say he's spiritual.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put a denomination on our pal Squidward.
No.
But I think he might be going through some mental trials and tribulations every day. And we see him from SpongeBob's point of view, which is cranky old Squidward. But you know what? I think what gets him out of bed every day might be his faith.
Okay. And
Mr. Krabs, though, too greedy. I think he, if anyone,
harder for a Mr. Krabs to get into heaven than Camel
and Pearl will get through the head of his wheel.
Oh wow! Is there a SpongeBob Bible?
Yeah,
and we could rewrite it.
SpongeBob Bible.
The SpongeBob Bible.
The Sponge Bible.
The Sponge Bible.
Okay, moving on.
How about a real Bible? Do you know any sponges in the real Bible?
It's when you talked about it, I didn't think we were talking about SpongeBob. I don't know any sponges in the real Bible, but my immediate thing is the obviously comparative idea of being a sponge to absorb knowledge. And
paper number 2. You're winning. Yes. You're winning. Okay, the reason I say paper number 2 is because it's what you're saying. Shakespeare, we talked about Shakespeare the other day.
Check out the Shakespeare podcast. It wasn't a Shakespeare podcast. What was the podcast that we talked about Shakespeare a lot?
I never remember them. You do.
Yeah.
But in Hamlet, I was Lady Macbeth, I think. But in Hamlet, Hamlet is talking to Rosencrantz, and he calls him a sponge, but he's saying it in a insultive way because he's saying that
whatever someone says,
you just believe. Soaked. He's and like I don't know the story about Hamlet or anything like that, but from this tiny little exchange, so Rosencrantz is working for the king or whatever, and Hamlet's like, you're just a sponge. You soaked up everything that the king told you to do and say and everything, and he'll wring you out, get everything back out what he needs of you, and then you're just a dried up sponge again. So it was a real insult. And Rosencrantz says, I understand you not, my lord. And Hamlet says, I am glad of it. But it could go both ways. Sometimes it's good to be a sponge and soak up knowledge.
Well, guess what, guys? That's what we're here to talk about. Little did you know, I knew this topic. No, I'm just kidding. But what I do know is what we're going to talk about. And that is being a sponge. Okay? You know a lot about sponges.
Yeah.
They're I
love sponges.
What is the when you can soak in water? Like something
porous? Property? Oh, no. What is porous, but...
Yeah. Well, porous is... Yeah. Whatever. If we look at ourselves like sponges, we should be sponges. Because what's the opposite of a sponge?
A rock?
A rock.
You threw my rock away.
And I think rocks are what we talk about all the time on this. It's our sort of motto, is let those who have ears hear. I think to not have ears is to be like a rock. And you're just going through your life. You're not absorbing anything. You're living your life.
And it's funny you said a rock with water running off of a rock, and erosion, we talked about that before, probably in the water podcast. So it's so incredibly hard. The water will eventually go through, but we're talking how many millions of years to go through, but the sponge
exactly
is ready
so if you have a sponge
to absorb.
So if there's a bunch of rocks and a sponge and you're pouring out your water of wisdom,
right?
Don't waste time just pouring it over a rock, being like, it's going to absorb this water of wisdom. You're wasting your water of wisdom.
Yeah.
Wait for the sponge. Now, that's from this perspective of spreading love and kindness and wisdom. But for the sponge, so if you're not a rock and you're saying, I'm open to learn.
Yeah,
I want to learn.
I want to soak up,
I want to soak up
this knowledge.
There's a pro and a con.
Okay.
You can soak up all the good knowledge and you can be a full sponge of goodness, or you can soak up dirt and grime and be full of that. And it made me think of something. Oh, and you know what? So we're pretty free thinking, I would say.
Yeah.
We're free thinkers.
Frankers.
But I think there's a comfort in organized churches of why people, they're like, I don't want to hear anything about other religions. I don't want to hear about anything of that.
Right.
It's because they were a sponge.
Oh, right.
Who then got a rock exterior. Because it's like, I soaked up the information I want. I don't even want to risk getting dirt. I'm comfortable with what I've absorbed.
I
don't want to absorb anything else. So they can't absorb anything else, but it's like they're content with what they've already gotten.
Right.
But is there a metaphor in all this? Sure.
Of course.
Somewhere.
You said you don't know the sponge in the Bible.
Oh yeah.
And there is a sponge, and it's in 3 of the so you don't get your third paper. Sorry. You did not.
Okay.
You did not earn your third paper, but there's a very, very famous sponge in the Bible.
Is there? Was it on Noah's Ark? No, it's in Matthew.
Why would a sponge have to be on Noah's Ark?
Well, because technically
they live in the water. They floated along.
They live in the water. You were right about that. Immediately one of them ran and got a sponge. He filled it with wine vinegar, put it on a staff, and offered it to Jesus to drink.
When Jesus was on the cross, 3 different apostles retold the story that the guards used a sponge on a spear to reach up to him. That's important. If you do Stations of the Cross, and we just finished Easter, And that's an important part of the crucifixion, the sponge. As a matter of fact, a few churches say they have a piece of, people love relics and have a piece of the original sponge. And also, which is what we do talk and we imagine and we think here on Croak and Crow, but we don't really debate like some religious scholars do. And there's lots of debate about that story. Were they taunting him? Were they helping him? Was he refusing because he was delirious? Was he refusing because he didn't want to change the scripture? So when you first hear the story, the guard puts vinegar on a sponge and puts it up to Jesus's mouth. Every time I heard it when I was little and stuff, I would think, ooh, who would want vinegar? So of course he didn't want it. But like I said, the scholars, some of them say it was wine.
This translation, which is the New International Version, calls it wine vinegar.
Wine vinegar. Some of them say that it was it was a tactic that they did for crucifixions where it was either a painkiller or helped you along to die. Other scholars are going to say, yeah, it was, but they weren't being merciful. They were trying to get this over with. So I don't know. Do we? We don't really get into that kind of
analytics. No,
because it doesn't help me in any way.
It doesn't.
But there was a sponge. So the reason I have a different paper is just the sponge paper, when you say what's a sponge. But I just found it interesting that, so if I want to get a little analytical.
Let's get a little analytical.
If I want to get a little analytical.
What do we want here?
I know. It's just up and down, like a W. Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday.
So the Bible tells me, in 3 Gospels, that they put a sponge up to Jesus. Now this tells me, this is like from the National Ocean NOAA, which is like the National Oceans of America, not of America, of the world, whatever, says that sponges are 600 million years old, like the earliest part of Earth's history. But I'm just saying, like, it's what we talked about most recently about Christian schools, where it's like the world started a lot later than that.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I think
they actually had a sponge there, though.
Yeah, I think those beliefs are dwindling out. Like,
okay,
for a while there, you could still believe that the Earth was 2,000, or no, not 2,000, whatever the Old Testament was. So, whatever BC it was.
Before that, yeah.
But I think science has gone too far in too many aspects of like, well, it's not just, we don't know just from this or from this or from this, but it's a lost cause to say the Earth is an X amount years old, or like the Earth started with humans.
Right.
Now, my theory of evolution. You can go watch another podcast if you didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know which one it was, but just you keep watching
it. It pops up in different places. It's like, if you find it, mark it in the comments, and so other people can find it. And another thing I like to think about of sponges is, you think of the lowly sponge. Even, today is Saint Zita's feast day, and she's the patron saint of housekeepers. And a sponge. Sponges are one of those quiet little heroes. They're extremely helpful in water. It seems like sponges float along, but like I just said, but actually they're usually attached to things. They're very filtrating. They're very helpful. This is a funny little it's a funny little story where dolphins will swim down and rip the sponge off the ground so that it protects their nose for them to then eat in rocks.
Oh, really?
It's like a little padding. But the nice little simple, don't forget the thesaurus, the simple things in life that are not, they're not the mighty whale. Or it's not, it's not like, oh, God's, you can see the glory in this. And it's like a sponge. First of all, congratulations, sponge, for living for 600 million years.
Well, was that saying that they lived for that long?
No, I'm saying...
like that their species.
Yeah, the dodo bird's not here anymore.
No, R.I.P. the dodo bird.
No, but that they're They're one of those just helpful things that's always around. You don't think about it. And like we use synthetic sponges now, but you can still get natural sponges.
You can still get natural sponges.
And I just thought it was a nice another nice part of God's creation.
Yeah. So, I mean, you never answered my thing of, do you think we should be sponge-like?
I do think we should be sponge-like. I think it's another way of saying, like, open-minded.
Okay. But what about if you suck in bad things?
Can you wring it out? I mean, a sponge is helpful in that way.
Why not?
You know,
how do you wring it out?
How do you wring it out? I would say that you would wring it out by... Well, you would have to wring it out because if you were at the point of saturation, you couldn't, like you said, you couldn't take in anymore. So how would you get rid of, you've absorbed, I guess God is the ultimate wringer-outer?
No, that's not fair to the people who are not as spiritual as we are. I think what I said earlier was a lot of people, they get a hard exterior around their spongy core, and so they don't allow themselves to be presented with new ideas.
They forget that they were once a soft sponge.
Yeah, I think you should always be a soft sponge. And, you know, like a sponge underwater, I'm sure, is, like you said, filtrating.
Yes.
Rather than sucking in.
Oh, God. It's that thing that was so popular like last year with the is water wet?
Is water wet,
Is a sponge full if it lives in the water.
Yeah. But no, so I mean, yeah, I think because a lot of people, they'll just. Oh, well, actually, no. I like where I'm going with this. So, a lot of people are, like I said, I would tell people I would read the Quran, and they would be like, we'd be talking, having a spiritual discussion, and they would just not even want to hear anything I had to say. And I'm a Christian through and through, but I think the best way to be a full sponge of all the things you want is to be underwater. And what does that mean? Is to
that's good.
Always be
surrounded.
Like there's people and it's like, okay, there's wet spots around. I feel comfortable with that. Zoom, sucks in the sponge. Zoom. And it's like then you only have limited things and you don't want to bring it out.
Right.
But if you get an overload of information, then you choose what you're going to listen to.
You're right.
Don't dry out is what I'm trying to get at.
That is true. Because forget being wrung out. That's the express lane. That's, Yeah. You have to stay far left on the highway because you got to go through the easy pass. You will, but if you absorb and then you're left and you're not doing anything else, you will dry out regardless of what you absorbed.
Yeah.
So you're correct. You want to keep in completely able to keep being soft.
Yeah, but just in life, I would just say be sponge-like, but be careful what you soak up. We are, as people, we are sort of like sponges. And you don't, they say, like, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are or something like that. It's the same idea. It's even the most strong-willed of us will be influenced.
Yes.
People have entire jobs of advertising, of how to influence you.
Right.
So knowing that you're a sponge is a big part of it, and so you want to surround yourself in things that you are confident that you'd be happy to soak up.
Right.
And that is really the key. It's if you hang around something, you'll get something. Fill in the analogy.
You can tell a brute who boozes by the company he chooses.
You can tell a brute who boozes by the company he chooses. So yeah, so we're all sponges, sponging along. We're all little SpongeBobs out here. And it's time to go to work. Krusty Krab?
Krabby Patties?
Krabby Patties?
I could probably have a Krabby Patty. I don't know if there's gluten in it, but we could find out.
There's bread. The buns.
Not the bun part, just the patty.
Oh. Well, a Krabby Patty, you think the whole thing.
No, the patty is that.
No, I know. But I'm saying when you say, like, the Krabby Patty, it's like, you're talking about the whole thing.
Why would you say it like that?
I thought like SpongeBob or said it when...
No, and finally, have you ever had sponge cake?
Yeah.
Probably.
Sure. I'm not really into sweets, but I can't imagine I went through my life without ever trying sponge cake.
I read something about it. You'll have to ask somebody who knows about ingredients. Oh, you're a baker.
Don't ask me.
Talk about a sponge. I think that the baker sponge is sat on the counter too long.
Oh, yeah. It's been a while.
Anyway, I think it's at Passover. Jewish people eat sponge cake because there's no yeast in it. Something like that. You going to look up the thesaurus?
When? On live TV?
Oh, I thought you... Oh, you were...
No, we're doing that.
I thought you were going to do it now.
No.
Oh, later on.
Yeah, we're not going to sit here.
At the work meeting, we're going to find a better word for the word simple.
Yes, and then you're going to be a sponge when we're reading it, and you're going to absorb in all the synonyms and never call me simple again.
Okay.
But guys, that is our Sponge podcast. We hope you absorb some knowledge.
SpongeBob. It's not like Sponge Podcast.
SpongeBob. Hope you absorb some knowledge. Don't ring us out just yet. Let's. Yeah. All right, guys. It's been real. It's been fun. Peace.
Wednesday.